Let's bring in our political editor, Andrew Clennell, to kick things off. Andrew, and this methane pledge from the government, which looks imminent, really kicked off a bit of a stink.
Well, that's the second day in a row you've managed to get a gag out of it, Kieran. We're talking gas again, this time methane from cows. We've seen this report from our colleague Jessica Maggio in New Zealand about a farm tax. The federal government has confirmed to me that they are indeed looking at supporting this aspiration, they call it, rather than a target for COP27 in Egypt in November of reducing methane by 30% in a decade. Now, does this mean we will no longer be able to eat steak? Agriculture Minister Murray Watts says that he will be having a steak tonight. He plans to be having one next year and the year after that, and says that by feeding cattle other feeds, such as seaweed, the target can be met. A firm called Sea Forest in Tasmania Watts visited last week claims to have reduced methane emissions by 98%. But doesn't this mean there'll be a farm levy like in New Zealand? Well, the government claims not, saying that more than 50% of New Zealand's emissions are from agriculture and they are only 16% of ours. The government will argue that 120 nations have signed up already for this aspiration, that Meat and Livestock Australia has their own 2030 target on reducing methane emissions, and that to continue to export beef to other countries, we will need to reduce methane output. But as you might imagine, with such a large target or aspiration coming out of pretty much nowhere, the opposition is very sceptical.
We had a sensible policy of having emissions put right across industries, right across the economy, but to focus in on methane and this commitment to a 30% cut to methane emissions effectively will put an end to barbecues, because this is going to drive the cost of your food, your meat, up.
I mean, seriously, a T-bone tax? Are we going to tax people because they exist, not because they're making a profit?